Al Imran, this family was so noble and pious that the community knew about them. Such a pious family. But they had no children. And so Imran and his wife, Hannah, they longed for children. And one day, she saw that the bird was feeding her little chicks. And her heart just broke. She wanted to have that child in her life that she could take care of. And so she made dua to Allah, that, oh Allah, please give me a child. And soon after, she got pregnant. And it tells us, like, whenever we have a problem, we have to go back to Allah. The Rasulullah ﷺ mentions in a hadith, إِنَّ رَبَّكُمْ حَيٌّ كَرِيمٌ يَسْتَحْيَ مِنْ عَبْدِهِ إِذَا رَفَعَ إِلَيْهِ يَدَيْهِ أَنْ يَرُدَّهُمَا صِفْرًا. Allah is so shy and generous that when His slave raises his hands to Him in a dua, He feels shy to return his hands empty. He always gives you something. So never think that you're helpless in life. You always have Allah, even when everyone else leaves you, even when the doctors tell you otherwise, even if the means say that it's impossible. Remember, Allah can make everything possible. Inna Allah ala kulli shayin qadir. And so she makes dua and she becomes pregnant. And then she said that, Ya Allah, you gave me this blessing. I'm going to vow that she's going to be from one of the servants of Masjid al-Aqsa. But at the time, only the males were allowed to be servants of Masjid al-Aqsa. When she delivers, she's like, Inni wada'tuha untha. I have delivered a girl, and girls are not allowed to be servants in the Masjid al-Aqsa. So she was worried, what's going to happen? But what happened? فَتَقَبَّلَهَا رَبُّهَا بِقَبُولٍ حَسَنٍ. But Allah accepted her vow in the best way. And people knew from the piety of the family that it's okay. Even though that's not the norm, we'll accept her. And also from her own piety and the signs in her life, as a young child, she was so pious that they said, we'll give her a spot. And not only that, but people fought over it. The scribes of Torah actually fought. They're like, no, I want to be her mentor. The other one said, no, I want to be her mentor. And so many people came together. And so they finally had to say, okay, we have to do a lottery. So everyone took their pens, and they started throwing them in the Jordanian river. And they said that whoever's pen remains the last one to be swept away by the waves, he's going to be the mentor. And so they all threw their pens. And Zakaria alayhi salam, the Prophet of Allah, his pen stayed the longest. And Allah mentions that in the Quran. ذَلِكَ مِنْ أَنْبَاءِ الْغَيْبِ نُوحِيهِ إِلَيْكَ وَمَا كُنْتَ لَدَيْهِمْ إِذْ يُلْقُونَ أَقْلَامَهُمْ أَيُّهُمْ يَكْفُلُ مَرْيَمَ وَمَا كُنْتَ لَدَيْهِمْ إِذْ يَخْتَصِمُونَ. These are the news of unseen. And you weren't there when they threw their pens and they were fighting over who's going to take the mentorship. Again, this tells us the roles of the masajid, the roles of the elder people in the community. Zakaria alayhi salam is in his old age, he has white hair, and he's offering his help and support. I want to be a mentor, I want to teach the next generation. The masajids are opening and they're accommodating. Yes, that's not the norm. The mother of Maryam alayhi salam, she is making dua to Allah. Oh Allah, protect her. إِنِّي أُعِيذُهَا بِكَ وَذُرِّيَّتَهَا مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. Ya Allah, please protect her and her offspring from shaitan. And she's not only stopping at dua, she's also making efforts that she gets her enrolled in the masjid. And so all these factors are adding up, and they're leading to a righteous child. A child who has unwavering faith. She has no doubts. She is certain. And when she's praying and she's in the room, and Zakaria alayhi salam is the only one who has the key. But when he comes in and he finds fruits in the room, he's like, who brought these fruits? And she's like, this is from Allah. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَرْزُقُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. Allah can give rizq to whomever He wills without any accountability. Even though these fruits don't exist in this season, in this area, but they're coming from Allah. And she, as the pious child, is teaching the mentor. And the mentor is also taking lessons, and he's open to feedback. And he's learning from the child that, yes, you know what? Allah can do everything and anything. And that also inspires him to make dua to Allah, to have his own children. And then, when Maryam alayhi salam gets older, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ مَرْيَمَ إِذِ انْتَبَذَتْ مِنْ أَهْلِهَا مَكَانًا شَرْقِيًّا. And remember in the book, the story of Maryam alayhi salam, when she withdrew from her family to the eastern side. فَاتَّخَذَتْ مِنْ دُونِهِمْ حِجَابًا فَأَرْسَلْنَا إِلَيْهَا رُوحَنَا فَتَمَثَّلَ لَهَا بَشَرًا سَوِيًّا. Then what happened? She took a cover. She secluded herself in kind of like an i'tikaf state. She wouldn't talk to anyone. She dedicated herself to worship. And that's another sign of chastity. We find that Yusuf alayhi salam, after he's in the fitna of the women, what happens to him? He's been put in the prison. And that's kind of like a lesson for us, that to stay away from the fitna, you can seclude yourself. And you find the same thing with Maryam alayhi salam. We find the same thing with the wife of Musa alayhi salam, is that when the people were taking water from the well, they're secluding themselves, they're staying away. And that's a sign of chastity. So we should think about our browsing online. Do we have parental controls? We should think about our events that we go to. Do we have seclusion? And we should have some space, some area where we can cultivate this haya, cultivate this modesty in ourselves, so that we can learn to lower our gaze, that we can learn to cover up in front of men. Then what happens? فَتَمَثَّلَ لَهَا بَشَرًا سَوِيًّا, and Allah sends to her Jibreel alayhi salam, and he comes in a form of a man. قالت إني أعوذ بالرحمن منك إن كنت تقيا. She said, I seek refuge from Allah, the most merciful, if you have some taqwa. قال إنما أنا رسول ربك لأهب لك غلاما زكيا. He said, I'm only a messenger from your Lord, so that I may give you a son. قالت أَنَّى يَكُونُ لِي غُلَامٌ وَلَمْ يَمْسَسْنِي بَشَرٌ وَلَمْ أَكُ بَغِيًّا. She said, how can I have a son when no man has ever touched me? I'm not married, and I have never been unchaste, so how can I have a son? قَالَ كَذَلِكِ قَالَ رَبُّكِ هُوَ عَلَيَّ هَيِّنٌ وَلِنَجْعَلَهُ آيَةً لِلنَّاسِ وَرَحْمَةً مِنَّا وَكَانَ أَمْرًا مَقْضِيًّا. He said, that is what Allah has said. هُوَ عَلَيَّ هَيِّنٌ. This is easy for me. Allah can do anything. Again, the same lesson. And He is going to make it a sign. Because the mainstream society is in disbelief. They're in immorality. And this son, without a father, is going to be a sign for them that yes, Allah is here. And He is going to preach to them about the reality and the truth. فَحَمَلَتْهُ فَانْتَبَذَتْ بِهِ مَكَانًا قَصِيًّا. So she became pregnant and she went to a distant place. فأجاءها المخاض إلى جذع النخلة قالت يا ليتني مت قبل هذا وكنت نسيا منسيا. And so the pain drove her to a tree. Now she's in that mental health issue, right? Which scholars will use this verse as a mental health issue. She's having suicidal thoughts. I should have died, and being forgotten, and she's in that distress. And so we know that people with iman can also have mental issues, but that doesn't negate iman. They're separate things, and we should seek out help whenever we need it. And then what happened? فَنَادَاهَا مِن تَحْتِهَا أَلَّا تَحْزَنِي قَدْ جَعَلَ رَبُّكِ تَحْتَكِ سَرِيًّا. So a voice called out that, don't worry, Allah is going to make a river. There's a river right by your side, just look at it. And what else should you do? وَهُذِّي إِلَيْكِ بِجِذْعِ النَّخْلَةِ تُسَاقِطُ عَلَيْكِ رُطَبًا جَنِيًّا. So shake the palm tree and ripe dates will fall. فَكُلِي وَاشْرَبِي وَقَرِّي عَيْنًا. So eat and drink and cool your eyes with the child. Look at the child and just enjoy the time. And when you meet someone, then tell them that I have vowed to not speak, and don't speak. Then when she went back to her nation, people started questioning her. Oh, how can you have a child? We thought you were so pious and this and that. And they started slandering her. And all she did is she pointed to the child. And the child, this is a miracle, he spoke. قَالَ إِنِّي عَبْدُ اللَّهِ آتَانِيَ الْكِتَابَ وَجَعَلَنِي نَبِيًّا. So Isa alayhi salam spoke from the cradle. And he started telling people, I am the slave of Allah. I'm His prophet. I'm here to tell you to believe in Allah and to pray and to give zakah and to be good to your mother. Right? So all these things are happening. And that is the story of Maryam alayhi salam. We hope to learn lessons from it and to learn how to have that yaqeen and how to have that sabr and chastity in our lives. We can all benefit from her example. And we should not be confused when people are not listening or not agreeing with the truth. Because what happens right after when Isa alayhi salam speaks, people stop slandering. But soon after, they again fall back into disbelief, to the point that they want to kill Isa alayhi salam. So Allah mentions this is that when people are arrogant and they don't want to believe, it doesn't matter how many proofs you give them. So don't worry about them. فَاصْبِرْ إِنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ وَلَا يَسْتَخِفَّنَّكَ الَّذِينَ لَا يُوقِنُونَ. So have patience. The promise of Allah is the truth. And don't let those people who don't have any certainty weaken your own faith. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the strong faith, to give us yaqeen, to give us the strength of iman, to give us the sabr and the chastity.